We'll kick this off with a shared excitement for our latest release, hot off the presses, guys. Phil will tell you a little more about that. But it's going to be highlighting the newest features you'll find in Spoken Studio, including the ability to upload audio files, such as sound effects, and add scene notes. Both are enhancements that invite more control and creativity. This is an important reminder as we see so many incredible faces here, and as we all come to invite you into conversation, that there are humans behind all of this incredible technology. And we've got a dev team that's hard at work that's even making it more seamless for you to create audio. Additionally, we make updates and improvements to the platform based on human feedback, and we're taking our cue from the research conducted by the humans studying the behavior of other humans. If you haven't heard by now, the biggest name in audio consumer research, Edison Research, surveyed more than 1,000 listeners of fiction and found that spoken multicast is preferred over traditional narration. That's a pretty cool thing. If you'd like to learn more about where audio is headed and what listeners want, please visit the landing page. I'll ask Patrick to drop that into the chat here for the Edison survey. Speaking of what listeners want, 81% of them want a distinct voice for every character, which leads us to today's webinar, a deep dive in spoken multicast. I'll invite Phil to share some of the features he's most excited about as we lead the publishing industry in bringing high-quality, immersive audiobooks to listeners around the world. Phil?
Thanks, Stacy, and thanks to the whole Spoken team that is joining us here today, and all of you. This is quite the webinar. We are thrilled to have you here. No doubt, some of those results that Stacy mentioned have helped to drive a lot of this interest, and we're thrilled by that because that's why we do what we do. Is we love to bring your stories to life as vividly as we can and meet the listener where we are. And I think we're learning more and more about what that means. And since day one, which is coming on just 3 years ago exactly. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
All right. Were you not able to hear me a moment ago?
Just a minute. Yeah, but you're good now.
You mean just the opening minute?
No, just like a second or two. I think at least I heard you for most of it.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
you're
That
good.
that's weird. Okay. Well, let me rewind that. I'm thrilled to be sharing the version 2.2 of Spoken with you today. And since we founded Spoken, which is almost exactly 3 years ago, the vision has been to bring your story vividly to life. And I think the Edison survey results have highlighted that we're on the right track to make sure that we're helping you to meet listeners where they are in their listening appetite today. We I am an audio-only reader. I am a sci-fi thriller writer. I sold a conversational AI company in healthcare in 2021 and then went to finish that little chestnut right there. And we're going to be bringing that live using Spoken Multicast here very soon. But since the beginning, it was really about that experience. And if you're a character-driven fiction writer like myself, getting a full cast experience out of that. So let's do this. Let's go right to why you are here today. First, I'd like to share with you the that we have just now, like quite literally 10 minutes ago, it was finalized. I think the team is still smoke testing the release, but the version 2.2 release is now out, and we're thrilled by it. It's the biggest release we've had since we launched Magic Mode, which is what gives us such fantastic end results on multicast. But I welcome you to peruse those release notes, which you'll see by email as well. And I'll be highlighting some of the really key features that we have in that release here today. And so let's get right to it. We're going to talk about some of the little tricks that we've added for you to use to really help guide a scene, like scene notes. We're also going to talk about sound effects and the ability to upload audio files within your chapters. So let's go ahead and get right to it. And Stacy or team, go ahead and just stop me if or say if you can't hear or if you need something specifically. Okay, so overall, just to orient you, for those of you who might be the uninitiated on the call. I assume that out of this very large group of attendees, there might be some of you. The studio, which is under the create icon of the application, is divided into five parts of the workflow. And so project manager is just where you see some of the basic attributes, the pacing, and the other things that are the rudiments of the story. We use all of this to be able to drive how those underlying layers get built in magic mode, which I'm going to be focusing on here today. And then down below is also where you are able to manage your chapters, add new chapters, etc. There are pacing choices that you can make, and you can even make those down at the chapter level as well. Those get applied in the underlying layers, and so that can be an important thing that you pay attention to. And then, and this surprises folks, but when it comes to the words that might be mispronounced, those get built in those underlying layers. If you're using magic mode for character-driven stories, then and we're going to be enhancing single narrator with some of those same capabilities here soon. But I'm going to focus on the multicast. With the use of the lexicon, you're able to apply changes to how something gets pronounced. And so that actually gets built in at a pretty low level because with accents, with pacing, those pronunciations become pretty foundational. And then something we really want you to spend all of your fun time on and not have to worry about whether it's going to come out right or not. And that is voices. And so, of course, you are able to, as always, or if you don't know, I will tell you, we can generate a custom voice designed around exactly how you wrote the character. You can choose from over 150 voice actor voices, and we will do our best to bring up the top voice that is right for that character, or you can input your own personal voice. In this case today, the demonstration I'm going to be doing is from the story Kill Your Darlings, which was the very first story put on Spoken. And so with every release, like today's release, I used that story in order to test how far we've come. And I'm amazed by the team and everything we've been delivering, and today is no exception. I am using the dev servers here because the team said to me, are you sure you want to deploy this right before your webinar to production? And I said, yeah, sure. And then when we got closer, I'm like, uh-oh, I better stay on dev just in case we have any trouble. I don't think we're having any trouble, but it is a big release. And so here are the voices for my story, Kill Your Darlings. And there are several different characters with different accents. One of the things I'm going to point out here is that you'll see these, what we call speaker cues. So if you open this up, you'll see that there are speaker cues that you can put in. You would want to put that in if it significantly differs from your underlying narration. And so I have several characters here which actually differ, Norwegian accents, Russian accents, etc., than my main narrator. And so then now you go to manage your passages. And this is where the magic happens. You can see that I'm still in narration of chapters 6 and 7 here. The underlying layers, when they get built up, will hit at 50% narrated, and then the rest are what we call the coat of paint, the character voices that get put over the underlying inflections. But what I'm going to be focusing on here are a couple of the really cool things that are now available. Okay, so what you're seeing is the characters in my first chapter. They're listed across the top. This is all my characters, really most of my characters in the story, and then all of the color coding here for all of those passages that those characters or the narrators speak. I'm going to point out a couple of things here. So first, we are able to, I'm going to show you something small, but something that I, as a person who is using this myself all the time, am really thrilled about. So if you go and you want to change the spacing or the padding, which is a very common thing, okay, because I'll tell you that in my taste, even when I'm in normal pacing, I find that the spacing between the passages, which we automate to give a really good natural pacing and exchange between characters, that to my taste, they sometimes those paddings can still be a little bit large, but now you take it to what you want, and we update it, and we do now what's called quick padding. And so that, boom, right there, that's done. You might have seen a little bit of a haziness there, but boom, it's done within a couple of seconds now. And that is a big improvement. And if you didn't already guess, because I'm amongst you and being a power user, trust me when I say I am the hardest critic of our own application. And so I am there with you arm in arm as we take this journey together on making a great product and delivering great stories. Okay, so that quick padding is one tiny little thing. One of the other things I'm going to point out here is that, and this is in the release notes as well, so you can find that. But here is the EPUB of this of this story. Okay, so you can see, EPUBs are basically a zip file, and so this is the EPUB of this file, and you might notice here something that is new. And I put this into the manuscript itself. That's important because it needs to go in before you start narration. We'll strip it out of the final narration, but it needs to go in before. Something to help guide the overall arc. Even though we do what we can, if there's something about that chapter, about that scene that you need to specify, we allow you to do that in scene notes now. I'll give you an example. I have 5 chapters in Taming the Perilous Skies that are all Italian accented characters. Well, we've had some trouble that sometimes in magic mode, it loses the scent, as I like to say, and that is that some of those characters don't have the Italian accent that they need. So now I can put up in the scene note that the entire scene, every speaking character has an Italian accent, and that helps tremendously to make sure that that's the case. So that's scene note. Okay, so let's get back to our story. And so one of the other things that you'll notice is so let's do it right here. My name is Crispin, and so I'm going to show you something here. So notice that guy right there, okay, and that guy right there. Add an audio file after this passage, and so we're going to go ahead and we are going to upload a sound effect into this story. And so that is a bass drum hit right there. And I have decided that the bass drum hit is going to be my thing. And so it saves it up to the cloud. You can play it, and there it is. And then you are ready to go. And there it is, right there, that bass drum hit. So when you play back,
My name is Crispin, he said in a lofty British accent.
now that's a little bit too much space there. I had too much after the bass drum sound on the file itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring that down. And my quick padding, boom, 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 is done. Okay. And so that is it's just a great new feature. If you want to put music there at the beginning of your first chapter to lead people in or lead people out, which a lot of people like to do, then now you can do that. I'm also going to mention here that we made a big change on how you can control volume and pacing. Okay, and so here, by the way, is the history. Here's the original padding, and now I've got this passage with the new padding, and so you'll see all those in the history. But now, if you change this,
He said in a lofty British accent, as he scanned across the large foyer with its hefty crossbeams and Victorian furnishings, lit by the fire and a single crystal chandelier.
well, there are layers that went under that, and we speed up the underlying layers first. And so I'll just go ahead and take it to the 1.2, which will be a little bit fast, but we speed up those layers, which means that the timbre of the voice maintains good accuracy. And yet it will be sped up. So that'll come back here in just about a second. Okay, so that's a new pacing change. You're probably, I think I already mentioned lexicon, which allows you to get those underlying pronunciations just right. I do want to, well, let's take a listen here.
He said in a lofty British accent as he scanned across the large foyer.
So what you might notice there is that sounds like the same character. It doesn't sound like a chipmunk. Well, it's those underlying layers being sped up that then get repainted with our coat of paint, the character voice, that allow that to maintain such naturalness, but sped up. Okay, so that is that. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that when you convert, if you have to convert to a different mode, let's say you're in magic mode and now you need to go to a different mode, okay? You can go to text to speech and do just the good old traditional text to speech. And so mind that there can be some timbre differences there, which we're always working to improve. Next release, we're going to be making even more improvements there. But if you do need to use Speak It, we continue to make improvements to Speak It. I use, as you might be able to see here next to my face, if you can see my video, a Blue Yeti mic that's set on the lowest sensitivity. I try to remove all background sound. And then I have it on the podcast mode. And then you can speak right into this and it'll come out in the character voice exactly as you spoke it. And so that is a great feature. That generally maintains the exact timbre that Magic Mode has without any alteration. So I really like doing that. Okay. Now, what you might notice, and then I'm almost done with my prepared run through here, is that when it comes to the project manager, we automatically separated the EPUB into chapters. If you are using a Word document instead, we do require that you put installment markers. And I know as an AI company, that probably seems kind of dumb. Trust me when I say I understand. I don't want to have you put installment markers into a Word document either. If you use the EPUB, it's not required. It's already separated as I had shown over here. But if you do use a Word document and you're uploading a single manuscript, divide those chapters with the phrase installment marker. You can easily see that right on the upload page on how to do that because there is a 0% tolerance, zero tolerance rule on chapter separation, okay? Because that becomes your audio files. That cannot in any way be uncertain, which is why we have to be so brute force and explicit with that, okay? All right. Now, as far as anything else, I'll just go ahead and work through the workflow here. We run passages where the magic happens, quite literally, and then you can publish. I'm going to go ahead and go over to the publish page. Mind your cover art. Make sure that it's compliant with the services. There's a little guy right here that will guide you on that. We now have a integration with a digital signature on our works for voices by an audio. Also, Authors Republic has now added us as an official digital narration partner. Authors Republic does a great job to just verify that the made with spoken works are and continue to be their highest quality digital narration works, which they are, I think. And they have some special magic that they have on their distribution. More about that later. But let's just put it this way: there are decreasing barriers to your audiobook being everywhere that audiobooks can be found. And so with that, let me just look here. I want to just make sure I've covered my list. When you do publish, in case you didn't know this, because you may not be part of the initiated here, you can deselect all, and then you can serially publish. And we only charge at for the finished product here. Okay. And so when you want to publish that one chapter, we're only going to charge for the one chapter. It's free to use, pay when perfect. And so if you just want to incrementally publish, double check and pay for each chapter one at a time, you can. Or if you're perfectly happy with everything, the project will total up the whole word count. And now you can go back and change voices. You can alter things. You can fix things, whatever, as much as you want. We're not going to charge you for the same word count again. Go forth and conquer. Just make it perfect. That's what we want. We want you to make it perfect. And then once you certify that that is yours, you can publish, and we'll put it through the mastering process, which brings it all to an ACX level of quality. Okay. I don't know if I said that all in one breath or not, but I am now going to take a breath
Take a breath.
and and
Take a
and
breath, Phil.
and uh,
Yes.
and maybe what I'll do, Stacy, maybe we can just ask Joshua because he works so closely with the production and so closely with the product. Joshua, if there's anything that you think that I might call out in addition to what I've talked about.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we have a lot of great questions here, and we can start to surface some of those as we address some of the earlier topics, maybe in a bit more depth. A lot of ones that come up in particular, I think that the C note and emphasis on C note might help address, and that is consistency with accents and how an author, publisher, producer might be able to get greater control over that
Yeah,
across
You
the
that's
know,
board.
that's that's great. Let's just reinforce a couple of things there because I think it's worthwhile doing. Um, when you're doing a magic mode project, and you're in here and you haven't made spoken yet. You haven't clicked the button down here that says make spoken. Okay. You still have the world is still your oyster. Nothing has been cast in concrete. Okay. And so what you want to make sure, we're not going to show you that scene note visually, but it'll be there. Don't you worry. It's behind the scenes if you added it. We might make it more of an explicit thing in the next release. That might make it just a little easier to do. But regardless, that it's back there. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that if there are any particular accents that are strong and distinct, like Anatoly here has a Russian accent, okay, make sure that those are in those speaker notes because those get woven into those underlying layers. If you have anything in particular, let's say Matthew comes out of the gate and he needs that to be done in a really dramatic voice. Just make sure that that is specified, that is done in with a yell or whatever. So make sure to go ahead and specify those things. When you're in magic mode, so here, I'm out of magic prep here, so I'll just show it this way. So those emotions, they get chosen down here. And so if you need to say shouted, make sure that that's specified at the passage level. And then when that goes through all the underlying layers, it'll be shouted, okay? And so I'm going to turn that back and I'm going to cancel that change. Okay, so that's important. You're not going to be able to change the padding until we've already created that naturalness of exchange between characters. And so we're not going to allow you to change any padding until you get here, and then you can just do the quick padding, which I love, and that'll be that. Okay, Joshua, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. So just to double down on what you're saying there, it's that before even hitting make spoken, getting all of those things set in place at the chapter level really is going to get you that perfect result. We have a couple other questions. People are really excited about all these features, and there are a few people worried that maybe it will affect their current project in any way. Is this going to change their project that's in progress, or add to it, or how can we talk to that?
That's a great question. We are always really cognizant of that whenever we plan an enhancement. And so in this case, while all of the features are nicely additive, there are no underlying fundamental architectural changes that have been made. Those base layers are your base layers. Your character voice, your character narrations are your character narrations. That coat of paint, right? The character voices is your coat of paint. And so in this release, there isn't anything fundamentally that's changed there. These things, scene notes, sound effects, and quick padding, those are just additive to what we already have.
there is also another comment about all caps. I know that's something we were
Ah,
talking about prior. We all have been stressing about the all caps. So tell us the latest, Phil.
okay, I'm gonna play something for you here. Okay. And so this is as of 38 minutes ago. Okay. So so um so let's preview this all caps word here. Okay.
Chapter 3. Anatoly. Acceptance.
That said acceptance. I didn't have to go down here and put acceptance. It didn't say ACCEPTANCE. Oh God, guys. I mean, trust me when I say I know. And I think we've addressed it. I think we've addressed it. I mean, check, like do your check on the lexicon, but I think we got that one.
Thank you, Bianca, for pointing that out. I think that's something that we've all struggled with as
Well,
well.
thank Jimmy. Thank Jimmy for that one.
Right. We'll thank Jimmy for sure.
Yeah.
We had a few questions on sounds, and Patrick McMahon was speaking earlier on this and had some really interesting ideas that were brought up and that authors were inquiring on, and that is limits on the sounds. Can they upload music? And furthermore, are they able to save their sounds on Spoken, or will Spoken ever have a sound library?
So find your sounds elsewhere. I can tell you there are a variety of places to do that. Just go online, sound effect generation. The reason that we don't do it ourselves is because even with the best services that are out there, I find myself generating 20, 30, 40 before I find the one that's right. And frankly, you know, I don't want my product to be painful. I want it to be great and easy. And right now, I can't make the sound effect generation thing anything but painful. And so I'm sorry about that. Go find your sound and upload it. As far as limits, I mean, Joshua, you would know that better than me. Do we have a limit on that?
No, you can put on a full song there. We've put songs at the top of chapters, in between chapters as interludes, dramatic interludes, so you can really get creative with the sounds you upload, including layering your own sounds. If, for the producers on this call, I know Keith was very excited about this feature and being able to layer an atmosphere and use that as a transition, or any which way you desire.
Yeah, one of the things to keep in mind is that all of your passages they get automatically trimmed and prepared from silence to silence. Actually, technically 60 decibels, but who's counting? And so what that means is that every passage exchange, every passage connection to the next goes through silence, okay, or at least a very low amount of sound. And so as you're adding these sounds, just know that the passage before it and the passage after it are going to start and end with silence. And so just make sure that that transition is smooth. No doubt, maybe sometime very soon we'll have some additional fanciness there, but make sure of that. Okay.
I think one of the most things I'm excited about with the new uploads for MP3 files is to be able to personalize a project if it's something specific to maybe your ARC readers or maybe an author's notes of sorts, as a narrative nonfiction memoir. I think it's nice to be able to speak a little bit about the behind the scenes of what happened or something special that you can add to it. The thing I love about all these new changes is that it's enhanced creativity. It gives you even more control. It gives that human touch to the very technical end product. So we did have a couple of questions, and everyone is excited, and I am too, about the speaker notes. That's another level of bringing humanity into this. Is like directing the scene. Cole
C
had a
note. Yeah,
question.
C note.
C note.
Yep.
C note.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I was reading Cole's question. Um, are those different from speaker cues? He wants to know which prevails, or do you need to say like British accent in both? Do you cover your bases on that? What do
Um,
you recommend?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So here's what I recommend. And this gets in. Who was it that asked that?
Cole Chase.
Cole. Cole, you know what you're talking about and you know what to worry about. So, oh, you are a pro. So you're worrying about the right stuff. So so remember what we're talking about, and I'll just go ahead and reinforce that with what we're looking at here. When a scene note gets applied, you are applying something for every chunk of that chapter, we do chunk the chapters behind the scenes. You wouldn't know that, but we do. We will add that to all the chunks that get narrated in this chapter. So just know that that note is going to be applied to everything that gets narrated here, because we do those underlying layers in broader swaths. Those get applied in the broader swath layer, right? The underlying layers. So when you want something applied globally, do that. Like my chapter that has all speaking characters are speaking with an Italian accent. Okay. However, if you have somebody who has a particular accent all the time and it differs from your underlying narrator generally, because that kind of dictates a lot of the cadence and a lot of the underlying, okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to use speaker cue, and it is important to do that. And so go ahead and make sure that that's the case. Like poor Ingrid here, bless her heart, she's got a Norwegian accent. So yeah, so speaker cue for the speaker specifically, especially when it differs for underlying narration. Scene note is to apply to the whole thing globally. And then finally, the emotion cue is on the passage itself. Okay. So if she speaks this with a somber, sardonic, gleeful, with a laugh, hiccuping, try different thing. I don't know, but there's a lot of things that you can do there, and that is at the passage specific delivery level, and so just be mindful of that. So to recap, scene note applied to every big swath of this chapter, speaker cue specifically guiding every passage of that speaker, and then the emotion cue, which is at passage level. There you go. That's the long-winded answer. Thanks, Cole.
We had some questions on manipulating volume and speed,
Ah,
and where's the best place to do that, and which cases?
yeah, good. So let's cover the different ways that you can do that. Okay. So up front, you can say leisurely, normal, or brisk. Okay. And try it out a little bit, like put a little thing in, do your pacing sample, see what you think. For me, when I use brisk, I find that it's a little bit too much. So I'd rather just deal with it down at the normal level. What does that mean? If I keep it normal, then how do I control that stuff? Well, let me show you. So before you make spoken, if you know that a character speaks rapidly, okay, like for instance, Natalia is a pistol, and you know that she speaks rapidly, set her to 1.1 speed out of the gate. If you know that she's always a little bit louder than everybody, set her volume up a little bit as well. Okay. And then before you make spoken, we'll make sure that all of her passages adhere to that. But this is a global change. Okay. That is a global change. And so now when we go back and we can see that Natalia has spoken here in chapter 2, which is why this is now needing updated 3 passages. You see that? I just made that change. But let's say that I would have made this before I made spoken. Those passages by Natalia would come out faster and a little bit louder. But what you'll notice here is that her passages are now louder. But if I just want this one to be quiet because poor Ingrid, bless her heart, is quieter, then I can just do that passage as quieter and it will be applied. I want to repeat what I said earlier. Speed changes have been notoriously bad. They are now in magic mode and text to speech. They are, or in, sorry, magic mode or manual mode. They are now good. And so if you've been like, man, this is not speeding up, or man, this is not slowing down, now it will. And you could either do that at the passage level or you can do that up at the character level. My recommendation would be just, set it set it and forget it is what we'd like you to be able to do. But that's the another long-winded answer to a short question. Thank you.
We
By
do
the
have
way,
a
The
I
other,
just uploaded. I've not done this before, but I just uploaded my. I composed the theme music about 20 years ago. I composed several pieces. I used to compose music. I don't know where that gene went, but it flew out of my brain somehow, no longer there. But I actually composed the theme music to my book, and I just loaded that in here. Anyway, so that's there now, which is pretty cool. All right, that was all.
So,
You may
Bianca,
commence.
well, we do have a lot of questions. We're going to try to get to all of them, and then we're going to capture those too and try to make sure we answer all your questions today. Bianca had a question about emotions. Phil, do you have any tips? Like she had said, is there a list somewhere that tells you what emotions are available or how you should state them? She always wonders if she should say whispered or whisper, or if she uses a word
Yeah.
that it
No,
won't
it's
understand, you know.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, try something at the passage level, and if it's not right, try again. But that's under text to speech, right? So what you want to do in magic mode is, you get it as right as you can out of the gate. Make sure those passages have the emotion cue on them. But whether it's whispered, whispering, or whisper, or with a whisper, it should not matter. Honestly, it really shouldn't matter. The things that I've found have the most dramatic effect are shouted, whispering, um, those sort of dramatic changes. With a sigh works really well. With a little laugh, usually works pretty well. But as far as what exact word you use there, you know what? This is what I would say. Whether it is on the speaker cue, like here, or it's down in the emotional cue, use only one or two words. Especially if you haven't made spoken yet, those cues can pile up and they can bog down the AI. Okay, they can bog it down. That is going to get better. We're working on making that better. But right now, keep these as few words as you can. If there's an accent, just say "buh" accent. Don't say with a Norwegian accent, slightly wispy and blah, blah, blah. Okay, don't do that. Just say Norwegian accent. And truly, honestly, contextually, it does a really good job because of those underlying layers, the big swaths that we narrate. It creates a pretty good delivery of how it's written. And so you don't have to specify all that stuff. If the scene sort of dictates a particular delivery, generally it's going to be pretty good. Bianca, thanks for your question. Bianca is a power writer, by the way. Man, she's got a lot of works out there. So we greatly appreciate you being here.
Several authors and producers in the chat really would love to be able to carry over their lexicon and character voices through a series. Any insight on that?
Any insight on that, Joshua? You already know the answer to that. He's playing dumb, folks. He's playing dumb. And so here, what you'll see is I did carry over lexicon. Any changes that I make here can be saved. Down here at the bottom, you can see save. Oop, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Am I okay?
I think somebody just joined. We'll just ask
Got it.
everybody to keep their mics off and their video on.
Great, great, great. Okay, so yeah, so lexicon can already carry over. Whatever words you feel like you need to carry over will, and no longer do you have to hopefully deal with any of your all caps words, which is just a godsend. But when it comes to your voices, right now, if you've got a series, just go back and you need to go back in the library and just find your saved custom voice that you saved. You can always, by the way, if you do this, okay, if you have several and you just need to name it final, okay, or Crispin final, okay, then that makes it a little easier to find, okay? So just do that. That'll make it easier for you to search. But you don't want to have to search. You don't want to have to do that. You want it to automatically detect that this is part of a series. It knows this is part of a series. Darn it, just assign the Crispin voice to Crispin. And you're going to get that. You're going to get that
Mhm.
next release, we think. I don't know. Today's release day, and we haven't even started the deep dig on 2.3 yet, but that is planned for next release. So there you go.
Phil, Jim McGowan surfaced a question that I think a lot of us have experienced with the little clicks at the end and regenerating. Um, any tips on if you hear something that doesn't sound right, when in doubt, regenerate?
Yeah. Let me tell you. Let me tell you that we're more than a little aware of this. Okay, so thank you for bringing it up. That is an important point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to regenerate this as a text to speech um, uh, passage. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and update that here. Now, the chances are that this probably has about a 40%, 50% chance of having a little click at the end when I do that. Okay. That's bad. I know. We're working on it. It will improve. We are going to get that better. Let's take a listen.
All right, Ingrid, I'm ready to begin.
That one did not have a click. Okay. So you don't need to regenerate that. Okay. Now, you'll also note that sometimes, oh, this is a good point. If you do speak it, the reason that I use a Blue Yeti mic on the lowest, low level, so I basically have to hold the mic right next to my face and I have it on the podcast mode, is because otherwise, oftentimes it will pick up my trackpad click to stop the speak it. Okay. And that click is over 60 decibels. That click is almost impossible to distinguish between something quietly, properly spoken. And so just be mindful that the mic you use and how you do speak it will matter. And we are working to overcome that. But so far, we've had more challenge than we like there. Okay, so just be mindful of that. But with text to speech, regenerate, and you'll probably have a good chance of it not being there. Okay.
Teresa McAvoy, one of our power users and dragon lovers, noted that the where she sees the problems with the clicks are the ones that she has to re-narrate are the ones that end with S, T, and N. So we know she knows the the program if she's specifically calling out the letters that it ends with. So interesting.
Yes, Teresa. Good to see you here, and you're right about that. So our underlying layers for magic mode do a really good job of overall delivery. Sometimes there are some things that just seem to have a consistent problem. And S's, TS's, like you pointed out, sometimes I don't hear that a whole lot, but sometimes words like edge can have a problem when the character voice and the underlying layers have a little bit of an accent conflict. I'm not going to go into why that is. It's ridiculously complex. Um, and so in those cases, in those I hope rare cases, first of all, you should know, I know we're working on it. I am there with you. And then soon we think we're going to be making some changes that will really help to address that. So just we understand if you use Speak It and you speak it properly, those will come out more correctly. And text to speech should do a pretty good job too. But the timbre compared to Magic Mode may have a little bit of a little bit of difference. So just be mindful of that. Can you tell I'm a product guy, by the way? Does it come off that way? Did I come off as a product guy somehow?
We did have a lot of questions. Many of them were answered, but because there's so many, it's worth bringing up just on distribution.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
and the rules behind uploading AI narration are the distributors and streaming services still requiring a check for that, and any other information there for authors wanting to distribute their AI audiobooks.
Yeah. So the doors are increasingly opening, which that's the good news. Two good distributors that we work with quite a bit are Voices by an Audio and Authors Republic. And so those guys do a good job. They are just as incentivized as you or me to make sure that the work that they put out on the different platforms is of very high quality. Okay. And so the good news is we've heard from both providers multiple times that the spoken digital narration is the highest quality digital narration that they get, which means that that's passing their QA muster more oftentimes than others. And the reason that is because of our attention to the ACX level mastering at the end, but also making sure that we're addressing a lot of these issues ahead of time. Those clicks, the seamlessness of exchange between characters, the fact that your intro and outro have the 1,000 to 2,000 milliseconds of padding at the front end and back end, things like that we have to pay attention to because they do. And so I think what you'll find is that especially with those partners and the ones they distribute to, that increasingly um, your quality that you get out of spoken is going to be well accepted. But if it's not, if you have trouble, you tell us. And whether it's Patrick or it's Stacy, or heck, me for that matter, just make sure we know, and we will work with you to make sure that we get it there. We want your story out there just like you do.
A lot
There
of,
was
oh, sorry, go ahead, Stacey.
Well, I was going to say there was a question. I apologize. I don't know who said it earlier, but they have created a project in single narrator, and now they're thinking, this multicast looks pretty good. So what do you recommend? I think I know, but what would you recommend to someone who's already created a project in single narrator, what we call probably manual mode? That's before magic mode. Phil, what would you advise?
Yeah, those modes are separate and distinct. You can't go right now from one to another. They're very different approaches. And so we are going to be doing some things with Joshua. I know you've been asking about for a while. We're going to be doing some things to help you deliver a great emotive single narrator version of your character-driven fiction. There's actually a way that you can do it right now. We can share that with you later. If you get, okay, I'll just share it now and tell you. Okay, here's the tip for if you want single narrator. I know this wasn't your question, but the two modes are separate. You would need to re-upload your project. That's the short answer to your question. But I want to share something with you that if you generate your audio in spoken multicast with every character having a distinct voice, and you've got those accents, you feel like it's delivered pretty well. But for whatever reason, you would like for it to be delivered in a single narrator, you can go in, and if you want to do this, you can't undo it. But if you go in and you merge all of your characters into a single, like your narrator voice, that will maintain all of your timbre, that will maintain all of the underlying inflections, accents, etc., but will be delivered in your single voice. Now, um, you cannot undo that. So if you confirm the merge and you say, I'm going to go to narrator custom voice, that's what I'm going to do is go to narrator, then it will do it. You can't undo it though. So I'm going to not do it right there. But that's one trick that you can use. I want to make that a lot easier for you from the outset, but just know those underlying layers have to be built before it's a good single narrator delivery, which is why make spoken has to occur before you do that. That was an answer to a question you didn't ask, but there you have it.
I see a lot of familiar names on this call, and I know I won't be able to get to everybody in the time that we have, but Matt Buckman is on this call, and I know for a fact Matt has cloned his own personal voice, which I have as well, and he uses that in his work. And so that's something I don't know if we've touched on today, but just know that's an option as well. Someone else added, I'd like to see more voices. I'm like, their voices are endless. Custom voices are endless with spoken, and we have a very robust voice library as well, that's always growing. If you know a voice actor who has their voice cloned, we can put that into our library. Just reach out and let us know if there's someone specific that you want to use. Joshua's got a keen ear for discerning if those voices are going to work or not on spoken. And normally, if you know somebody, we can support that voice actor community by uploading their voice
Hey,
there.
Stacy, a quick point on that.
Mhm.
So if you or anybody you know is already on spoken and you've done the personal voice clone, and you really like it and you think it might be useful to others, let us know. We can move it over if you want. We can move it over to be available in the library. Okay. That's just a click of a button for us to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be entirely just for you. Okay. So if you're like, hey, I think others might enjoy my voice, well, let us know. Josh will tell you if you're wrong or right.
Yeah, we've had a few of our good friends and authors on the platform that have put their voice forward to us, and we've added it to the library, and it's become a fan favorite. So definitely, I think of Alicia and several others.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
another question, just sort of expanding on that last point, the single narrator versus multicast. Is there anything uh, that multicast provides as a benefit, the change of the market sentiment, listener sentiment that we have to provide, our knowledge on the market, that multicast is growing in popularity, that it's desired, and why it's a great choice through spoken?
We want to give you all the tools that you need for that, right? We've worked very hard to make sure that we have the proof and that you can leverage that. And so I will say that the most basic point, and actually I see Joe Nassis, a New York Times bestselling author who has many books now on all of the streaming channels from Spoken, and so that's great. And all was the keyword there. And I know that he has has done this. But so what were we? Wait a minute. Why did I just lose that thread? What were we on? What topic were we on?
Well, I think he was teeing you up for some Edison research,
Edison research. Right.
possible.
So
Yeah.
here's the key on that. Here's the key on that. Take an excerpt for your retail sample. Right. You've got the files. Take your excerpt for your retail sample that showcases a key moment between characters. Showcase that exchange. Because when we did the Edison survey, which is just spoken.press slash Edison survey, okay, just you'll have everything you need to take forward there. But when you create your retail sample, share something that highlights the great exchange between your characters. If you've got character driven fiction, do that. Now, we're going to make that easier for you next release. We're going to have custom retail sample where you can take it from any chapter, any segment, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute, and you'll be able to then snap that as your retail sample. That's coming in the next release, but that's important. Your retail sample, highlight that exchange so that your listeners can be like, oh, digital narration. Oh, wait a minute, that's made with spoken. That's really good. That's so natural. It's engaging. It's wonderful, and I think that's the result you'll get.
I'm so glad that you said that because I was going to ask you, Phil, about what you're most excited about with the following release. As you guys know, when we put one out, what, 30 minutes ago, now we're looking toward the next. I know what I'm excited about for the next one. So I mean, it's just continual. What are you most excited about on down the road here in just a couple weeks?
Well, Stacey, I know what you're excited about, and that is that if you're accepted into the ambassador program of
Mhm.
Spoken, that we are going to have a really special feature there, and so we're going to be trying out just with our ambassadors initially, and so Stacey will share more about
Mhm.
that later. The other things that I'm excited about, though, we have a lot of things. That text to speech timbre issue we're going to be addressing. We also have the custom retail sample as well, and then beyond that, we have a whole lot of stuff lined up. So I have let's see. Um, yeah, right. Okay. I was just looking at the release. So 2.3. Okay. It is our plan to deliver a proofing button. So you're listening. You're in the installment. You're in your chapter. You hit the button in the bottom left. You're listening. You want to be able to just listen and mark things that might need to be addressed, right? But you want to sit back and you want to just take it all in. You don't want to, right? Or in a separate notepad document, say this passage, that passage, right? You're going to have a proofing button that allows you to listen and just touch it whenever you have something you want to go back and look at. And we'll flag that so you can easily see it and go back. Also, it's our plan to put little icons so that you can at a glance know if something was magic mode, text to speech, speak it. And so you can see that at a glance, which will be a nice little. We don't want to make things clutter. We love how pretty Spoken is, it's just so colorful and pretty, and we don't want to clutter it up, so we've got to be mindful of that. But we also have some at a glance stuff that need to happen, like the flags or those icons. So I'm excited about
I think
that. Yeah.
I think that one of those things that I'm also most excited about is that collaborative proofing. So we have several producers on this call, and if you're not familiar with our program, it's a spoken certified producer program that really gets you a little bit more in-depth training so you can produce other people's works. And when you have that collaborative proofing flag that we were just talking about, that makes it even better to create those works collaboratively with others. Goodness gracious, we're really happening upon our final minute here. What I'd like to say, and I'll leave Phil to close us out, is if you have a question that didn't get answered today, please reach out. You can reach out at info@spoken.press, or you can ask Patrick and then get it to us. Here, we want to make sure your questions are answered. We want to make sure you're equipped to create the best audio project you can have. Magic Mode is still in preview at no additional charge. That won't last forever. But I'm gonna toss that to Phil for a closeout and why we believe this product is so to the level that we believe that it's exactly what listeners want.
Thank you, Stacy, and thanks to the whole Spoken team and to the engineering squad for getting the 2.2 release out. And from everything I've seen in the background here, it looks like things are going pretty well with that. So I hope you enjoy the 2.2 release. Magic Mode, if you are character-driven fiction, definitely check out Magic Mode. It's in preview, as Stacy said. Not only will it not last forever, it's probably not going to last for very long. It's probably a matter of 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks before we price Magic Mode, and it will be more expensive. Doesn't mean that your subscription won't still give you the discount. We are planning that, but just know it is going to be coming. And it is much more expensive for us to do. And when you do the free to use pay when perfect model, that means that that we're taking that risk, but we're happy to because it's just getting better and better. And we are humans. We're working for you, human authors, to bring it to human listeners. And we think that's the most humane thing to do. And so, with that, again, thank you for being here. Thank you to all of our power users. And keep an eye out for release notes. Tell us what you don't like, complain, and we're there with you. Just know that we are authors for authors. We are there with you.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you being here.
Write it, hear it. Any story, any size. Professional audiobooks in a click. Spoken.